Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. Today I will show you in a quick demonstration how I inked and painted these poppies, and a full and real-time video is part of my Inktober series, which I am at the moment doing on Patreon. If you want to check that out, I will put a link in the description box. So we are inking and painting 31 different flowers. As I said, if you want to check it out, you can find the link there. All the materials that I will be using for this inking and painting are listed in the description box. If you join for free on my Patreon, you will have access to this sketch for free, together with other sketches that I do share regularly on my Patreon. So I'll be starting with number 3 ink pen from Micron, and just go around and do the basic outlines, just following the lines that I did on my sketch. And then with the smaller 01 ink pen, I will just slightly embellish it, make parts of the lines a little bit thicker and then parts a little bit thinner, just to give it some style or just to stylize it. And also at the top of the petals and the bottom of the petals, where the center of the flower is, I'm just adding tiny little lines for some shading. And I'm also thinking where the darkest shadows are, so that's the place where I'm adding most ink, and also where I want to add a little bit more of the details, I'm adding some tiny thin lines with 01 ink pen. All the time just minding where the center of the petal is and how it is curved, turned when I'm doing my shading. Also, I will add a little bit more of the shading with a very light touch onto the stems and the edges of my poppy buds. I'm not gonna paint in a straight line, but I will just do those fuzzy little lines, making it appear like it is fuzzy and has those little spikes. It's not really smooth. Same thing for the other bud, painting the border with those small lines and adding a couple of spikes with dots and some lines. Some shading onto the stem, and when I'm finished with my inking, I'm moving on to the watercolors. And first I'm starting with primary red and splattering some paint after I've added a little bit of the mist with water, just to water down a paper slightly, so where my splatters fall, they will slightly bleed and move around on the paper, so create nice textures. Adding a little bit of the primary red on top of my poppies, a little bit of the sap green and burnt umber, and then in the center I'm adding some ivory black. I left it to dry completely, and now with this smaller detail brush, this is number 0 round from Panart, I'm adding a little bit of the more saturated pigment this time, painting wet on dry, rinsing my brush and just softening the edges. I'm going around all of my petals and also buds, and just adding a little bit of the pigment where some shadows are, and just creating again some textures. A little bit of the black in some corners, and for the center of the bud I'm adding some red, and also on top of them adding a little bit of the sap green mixed in with burnt umber. Same thing onto the stems. And also I'm adding a little bit of the black to those dots that I made for the central stems, those little stamens. And then when it's fully dry, I'm adding a little bit of the yellow on top just to glaze it slightly, and I think it just gave a nice twist to it. A little bit more of the splatters with red, and also I will be adding some splatters with yellow. And with that, we will be finishing our painting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's quite simple, easy, but yet so beautiful and effective. As I said, a full-time, real-time video is on my Patreon. If you want to check the Inktober series, well, I will put the link in the description box. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. I have lots and lots of tutorials here. I'm sure you will find something for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!